NBI Chief Melvin Matibag says the agency has not found the alleged hitman enlisted by Vice President Sara Duterte but found persons of interest. The prosecution attempts to prove a pattern of violence on the part of Sara Duterte, with witness Melvin Matibag saying Duterte's threats had kinetic force. The Ombudsman tags Martin Romualdez as the central figure in the flood control corruption scheme. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. summons China's ambassador over the China Coast Guard attack on a Filipino soldier at Ayungin Shoal. And veteran legislator and former Albay Governor Joey Salceda is appointed as head of the Presidential Legislative Liaison Office. National Bureau of Investigation Director Melvin Matibag says the agency is still investigating the identity of the alleged hitman hired by Vice President Sara Duterte to kill President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. But Matibag says the NBI has persons of interest who may help the agency find the actual assassin Duterte allegedly spoke with.
Meron po tayong mga leads natin pong sinusundan at katunayan, we already have established persons of interest na maaaring makapagturo o tumukoy dun sa taong kinausap ng ating Vice Presidente o maaaring isa rito sa tinatawag nating persons of interest ang siyang talagang nakausap ng Vice Presidente.
Duterte first said during her infamous virtual press conference on November 23, 2024 that she had reached out to an assassin to kill Marcos and members of his family. But Matibag says he cannot disclose the identity of these persons of interest as the investigation is ongoing.
Makukompromiso po ang ating investigasyon at may lalagay po sa alanganin yung pong ating mga tinatawag na informants o assets na nasa ground na nagbibigay po sa atin ng human intel na tinatawag.
Lead prosecutor Jinky Luistro conducts the direct examination of Matibag, who says the NBI is treating Duterte's statement not as a threat but as a plan to kill the president. The prosecution attempts to prove a pattern of violence on the part of Vice President Sara Duterte. Witness for the prosecution, NBI Director Melvin Matibag says threats made by Duterte against President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. had kinetic force.
It is a kinetic force na kung saan yung mga nakarinig ng kanyang pagbabanta ay gumagaya na rin at nagbabanta, lalong-lalo na sila ay nabibilang sa isang pamilya. Na yung kanila pong aksyon ay nagkakaroon po ng epekto para kumilos sa mga nakakarinig, ang kanilang mga supporter, upang maghasik po ng ligalig at kaguluhan po sa ating pong bansa at hindi na nirirespeto ang ating pong konstitusyon at wala na rin pong pagtingin sa ating democratic process.
He cites Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte's statements during the April 2026 Rage Rally as proof of this ripple effect. During the trial, Matibag also reads portions of the affidavit of self-confessed Davao Death Squad member Arturo Las Cañas. The affidavit was submitted to the International Criminal Court or ICC. The paragraphs read out loud describe the alleged role of Sara Duterte, then Davao City Mayor, in the DDS kill orders. Matibag reads Las Cañas' account of his conversation with then Davao City Police Director Bato de la Rosa.
I talked to Mayor Inday as part of our Tokhang operation. She ordered us to lay low our killings through gun shooting because the media is asking too much. Just kidnap targets, then bury them in the quarry so they would go missing. She is okay with that way. To which I answer, yes sir, sultian na ko ako ang grupo. I'll inform my group.
Defense lawyer Mark Vinluan objects to the reading, stressing it is highly improper. Impeachment presiding officer Cheese Escudero agrees and stops any further reading of the affidavit. The Office of the Ombudsman has identified former House Speaker Martin Romualdez as the central figure in the flood control corruption scandal. This comes as the agency moves to pursue plunder and money laundering cases against him, former Ako Bicol Representative Zaldico, and several others. Assistant Ombudsman Miko Clavano says the Ombudsman's findings were also supported by sworn statements from 8 individuals who served as COS security personnel. The sworn statements also provided first-hand accounts detailing alleged cash deliveries from Co to Romualdez. But Clavano clarifies the July 20 announcement that the Ombudsman is set to file 2 separate complaints for preliminary investigation is not yet a formal charge before a court. This latest development comes nearly a year after the flood control controversy erupted following the State of the Nation address of the President. Raptor's investigations have also uncovered 6 multi-million peso properties that were either purchased or changed hands among Romualdez associates since he became House Speaker in 2022. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. summons Chinese Ambassador to Manila Jing Quan Tuesday, July 21. This a day after China Coast Guard personnel hit a Filipino soldier on the head during a confrontation in Ayungin Shoal in the West Philippine Sea. This is the first time Marcos has summoned Jing, who arrived in Manila in December 2025. Marcos had summoned Jing's predecessor, Huang Xilian, over the CCG's use of lasers on the Philippine Coast Guard. The development comes as tensions between the Philippines and China in both political and maritime spaces escalate further. Aside from the recent confrontation, state-owned China Daily released a racist video depicting a Filipino as a monkey to undermine the landmark 2016 arbitral award. The United States State Department condemns China's dangerous and aggressive actions in the shoal and called on Beijing to immediately cease its destabilizing conduct. Veteran legislator and former Albay Governor Joey Salceda is set to join President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s cabinet as head of the Presidential Legislative Liaison Office. Salceda will hold the rank of secretary and replaces Adrian Bersamin, who was an undersecretary. Bersamin left his post in November 2025 after he was accused of involvement in flood control corruption. Salceda, who was a longtime representative of the 2nd District of Albay and former governor of the province, lost in the 2025 midterm elections. Meantime, Lieutenant General Antonio Nafarrete is appointed Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Nafarrete, the current Philippine Army Chief, replaces General Romeo Bronner Jr. after 3 years as the country's top military officer. Nafarrete takes over the AFP in the midst of a long overdue transition in focus from internal to external defense with the release of the National Security Policy in 2023. And that's today's wrap. I'm JC Gotinga. Thank you for watching. Click the link below for the full story. For more updates, download the wRap.